Welcome to Tim Talks. Welcome to Tim Talks. Welcome to Tim Talks with Tim Ladners.
But one thing about Birt that I do know is some of your colleagues. I mean, you've done a great job of networking over the decades. Tell me a little bit about your relationship with Mr. John Hope Bryant and how that has grown, and also piggyback off of that. Then tell me about a little bit about Make Believe Village. Let me hear about those two stories. And I want to hear everything about John Hope Bryant. And don't you forget to make this statement. And it blew me away when Mr. John Hope Bryant said, "Mr. Birt is not the type of person who works for you. He's the type of person you partner with." That was a strong statement.
Yeah.
And that started your relationship with Mr. Hope, John Hope Bryant, at that first seminar that I went to. But
Yeah.
again, tell us a little bit about your history with Mr. Bryant.
Yeah, I'll start there, man. And I mean, I thank you for the segue, man. And Julian, man, thank you for what you're doing. Just real quick, I got a lot of friends who are contractors, man, and gonna need your service because they need to get their business out there and put people around their product. So, man, you definitely So we need to get together and do something, maybe some live event to where we can, invite these people in and, let your service take them to the next level in their business. Because I can tell you, definitely as a contractor, that's something that we need, that we just don't have the time to do, and we don't have, assistant or somebody that can, help us do these things and get us where we need to go. But definitely we'll do that. But back to my relationship with John O'Brien, we just, finished a few weeks ago a podcast, called Hustle Economics, on his podcast on Black Effect Network and, iHeart and Charlemagne, all those good things, man. I'm not a technology person, so I know all the stuff, but Money and Wealth is the podcast. But how I met John, I never met him directly, but I started volunteering with this organization called Operation Hope. And you just talked about your wife's book on financial literacy. And that's how I got involved. That was a program that John had called Hope Business in a Box. And this was where it was like Shark Tank, where a lot of kids would come together, put up their business ideas, and then John bring people like us in from the community as entrepreneurs and grab those kids and mentor, like, the kids that I had was clean cut lawn care. And so I took those kids, helped them put their business plan together, helped them do what you're doing, like marketing, but my skill, not on y'all scale, y'all way out there. So we just, talk to people in the community in little t-shirts with like a little bow tie and a vest. So, they was called clean cut lawn care. So I say, hey, we got to create something that look like clean cut, just a t-shirt. You ain't got to wear no vest or nothing like that, but we use that. And so these kids had the opportunity to pitch their business in front of billionaires and multimillionaires at the Hope Global Forum, which John hosts here in Atlanta every year. And so my kids, they go to perform, man, and the judges, if I'm not mistaken, at that time, that was the first one, it was Steve Case, who owned AOL, Jim Clifton, who, what's the big company, Gallup Polls. He owned a Gallup Polls. And I think another person that was, of course, John was one of the judges. And I think the young lady, she was over Hooters, then became over Center. I think her name was Kat something. I apologize for not, know her name, but I guess we can get that and put it up. And so these were the judges. And the keynote speaker was Bill Clinton for that event. Man, those kids got on that stage and they showed out all of the different, because there was several of us who mentored those kids, so they got up there. And the young guy who won was Muhammad, man. This guy, he called himself a serial entrepreneur. At the time, he was at Best Academy, and he created like a little school store. He called Mobile Mini Mart. I would never forget it because that's how he branded. He would go to the classroom with his mart and sell pencils, supplies, and stuff like that to the kids every morning before school. So the principal allowed it because, of course, we had that connection to where we work with these kids. So that's, the beginning of how I got involved with Operation Hope, John is the founder and the CEO and chairman of Operation Hope. And, it's about financial literacy, help you get your credit straight, home buying seminars, teaching you every aspect, even entrepreneurship. And if you ever walk in a bank and see Hope inside on that bank, that door, that means Operation Hope is partnering with that, bank. That means if you ever get turned down for a loan, or if you need anything, you can go in that bank and they will assign you a coach through Operation Hope. And if you got turned down for that loan, they'll work with you, help you get your credit score straight, teach you financial literacy, and send you right back across the hall to those people and get that loan approved. All at no cost to you, just because if this is something you want to do, that's what they offer. And so just kind of fast forward. And so over the years, I became the #1 volunteer at Operation Hope. If they needed anything, I was there. And if you listen to the podcast with John, he even forgot this one. John did something that was phenomenal, that was history in this country. And of course, I was a part of it. John had the United States government of America to take the Treasury Annex name off the building and put Freedman's Bank name back on. Unheard of. And I think nothing have ever been changed in Washington over 80, almost to 100 years. And long story short about the Freedman's Bank, this is when Abraham Lincoln, this is how 40 Acres and a Mule came about in Field Action 15, is because Abraham Lincoln, who his advisor at the time was Frederick Douglass, who they talked about the Freedmen's Bureau Act, which means when Abraham Lincoln, he signed the Emancipation Proclamation, that wasn't nothing, but when he signed the Freedmen's Bureau Act, that's when you saw the thing happen. Because at that point, he gave access to capital, gave access to capital to the slaves, to the freed slaves. And that gave them money to be able to buy, a mule, be able to buy, whatever they need, the feed and whatever they need for the donkey, to be able to buy the tractor, which is, the little plow, of course. And that's how things start changing. And so it lasted from like 1865 to 1874. And Frederick Douglass was the last president of that bank. And he put $10,000 of his own money to try to save it. But, of course, all the corruption, all the stuff like that, happened. But once Abraham Lincoln got killed, right after that is, the incoming president was like, hey, we can't stop it, but we'll just ignore. We won't, allow anything for us our level to help them or to support. And so, Frederick Douglass, like I said, he was the last president of the bank to put his own money in there to try to save it. And so, fast forward, John was being honored at that, event by the Secretary of the Treasury at the time, which was Jack Lew under the Obama administration, to change the Treasury Annex building back to Freedman's Bank to put the name back on it, and which was right across from the White House. And I volunteered, and that's how I got everything in my life, because I've always volunteered to be in these rooms, to be on these programs, to be involved in these organizations. So that's how I learned, and that's how I built those relationships with all these people, because people really see who you are and what you mean and what you're about, the way you give and how you give or what you have. And so when you're giving up your time and your service and you're giving the best of who you are and you're not half-stepping, people will see that and they can appreciate that. So we're at this event. Let me back about how I got there. So I called a few people. They said, Tim, John can only take 2 guests. He's not even taking his wife. He's taking Ambassador Andrew Young and Reverend T.T. Vivian. So you ain't going. I said, oh, okay, all right. I picked up the phone, made a phone call. I said, hey, I know John will be being honored, at the U.S. Department of Treasury on this date, this date, this date. I'm going to be in D.C., so I would love to be a part of the event and, do this, that, and that. So with Tim, blah, blah. I say, does John have a personal photographer? They're like, oh, no. I said, he do now. I said, I'm John's personal photographer. So let John know I'll be his personal photographer for that event. And if anything he need me to do, if he need me to travel him around the city, whenever he's there, whenever he step off the plane or whenever, hey, I got him. So the lady said, well, let me check. Within about 20 minutes, they call me back and say, hey, man, you in.
That's a beautiful story. And you know just how we tell stories in life.
Yeah.
I'm your receipt for that. Because guess whose lens you had to borrow when you took that trip? The same lens we're using right here on this camera. You came by my house and you borrowed the lens to my camera to go up and make that event happen. Yeah. That was a magical moment in your life, and I remember it, every step of it.
Go to www.tlatmedia.com